Hey guys, I'm gonna try to do this video here. Bear with me because it's a little bit on the bigger side of a display to a video. So this is my Battlestar Galactica and Pegasus, and let's see if I can't turn it to get a little bit more light on it. There we go. So you can see the little bit better the actual colors of it. I'm trying to do this. It's morning and the room is just natural light coming through, light from a window. I try to do these videos so the lighting shows up, but at the same time you can actually see the models because when you do them in the dark with no lighting to show off all the lighting on the models, you pretty much have a hard time picking out what you're looking at. So just don't have that perfect light. So I'm doing this one in pretty much early morning video. So, but anyway, this is my Galactica, the Moebius Models Galactica, the reimagined series, and the Pegasus along with it and stuff. I just made a basic base out of medium density fiberboard, 3/4 thick. I just doubled it up because I got some cutouts on the bottom for the wiring in the tubes, the rods that pass through, and also my plug-in and stuff. Everything is under there, so nothing fancy, you know. I did use the bases from the models. I did the Pegasus with gold accents, and I did the Galactica one with the with silver. The problem with the Galactica one, the Pegasus, was easy to pick out all the raised surfaces with gold. They were pretty raised up pretty good, but on the Galactica base, the lettering itself, it almost wasn't there. It was like probably less than the thickness of a hair as far as the molding, the raised effect on it and stuff. So that was a little bit difficult to get the letters and stuff, but I managed to do it. I used a Sharpie, not a paint marker, but a regular silver marker on the lettering. It's just kind of like their black marker as well. It's a silver stuff, and it was the easiest thing to get the lettering on the Galactica done. And I still had a very difficult time with it and stuff because the lettering just wasn't raised up high enough, and without getting some over on the black background. But anyway, pretty happy with the way it turned out. So anyway, this is the Galactica. I used a base coat of Rust-Oleum gray primer. It's on the dark side. It's very close to the gunmetal gray by Model Master. So I was pretty happy with the with that color, and I used aluminum for all the plating and stuff. And I went over, picked out different panels to give it some different colors, you know, almost like an Aztecing. And it probably won't show up on the camera, especially in this lighting. But I took my colored pencils deal, kind of like I did on my Star Destroyer, and I just went through on all the ribbing, and I kind of pecked at it, did a pecking thing all through those slots to give it like a stippled effect. It looks almost like the decals would, like a Aztec pattern. You might be able to pick it up at certain angles and stuff. You know, I'm not too sure, but anyway, I went through and did that. I did go and originally I did all those ribs with a silver Sharpie paint marker. I didn't like it. I did not like all those ribs done up in silver. It kind of looked like I don't know, I guess a big giant zebra or something. I really didn't care for that effect much at all. So I went back over all those ribs, and what I did, I actually dry brushed them, so the little bit of the silver here and there does show through on them. So it gives it a little bit of I guess a weather look, you could say. I did some minor weathering, battle damage, a couple little battle damage scars here or there. Nothing special. And that I know this isn't the greatest video. It's not really, I don't know, clear. It's probably has to do with some of the lighting, and also I use my cell phone for these videos. I'm not into all that editing and download them to my computer and go through to edit them and stuff and clarity and stuff. I do have a better SLR camera that takes high def videos, but it's I'm a little bit on the older side, so I'm not really big time into all that editing stuff. But that's the Galactica basically. We'll get into more detail on different things I did and different lighting and stuff on it and once I get through with the other one. And this is my Pegasus. I did do the trench. I did use the exterior photo etch only because I wanted that trench lit and everything, and I just didn't want to drill a few holes and, you know, go somewhat halfway decent. I think this is one of those models where the photo etch definitely is needed in that and stuff. And I mean, if you're doing just a static model without lighting, you could get by without getting a photo etch, but I wanted to lit if I was going to light everything else on a model. I wanted to do that the right way too, but for that I just used a can of Rust-Oleum aluminum spray paint, pretty much for the whole color, you know. And then I picked out a few little areas where I used it's called German silver, and it's not like a bright silver. It's kind of a little bit lighter than the aluminum. It's got a metallic look to it and stuff. And I just picked up a few places on the, you might be able to pick it up on the engine there, that center, that ring there. And then a couple other areas. There's some bands that go around just to give it a little bit of offset on the color. So it's not all one boring color. And I just did some light battle damage just with some black pastel chalk here and there. And nothing major, you know. I kind of wanted them to look clean looking, and I decided I wanted to mount them on a base together, like they're either coming or going to a battle, probably coming and stuff, and getting back to a base or Earth or whatever. So use your imagination. I didn't do nothing special on lighting on either ship. I mean, these ships, they didn't have actual studio models where you could get good photos of them and stuff, and clear photos in different areas of the ships, basically, because they were computer generated. So what I did, I just looked through videos and looked through pictures and the best ones I could find, and just did my own thing and everything. So the Pegasus is basically out of the box and everything. I didn't have to do any kind of modifications or nothing like that. But the Galactica, I did. Let me get my little pointer stick out here. The Galactica, I did do that correction on the head and the hull, where it's supposed to be all one flat transition and everything. And what I did, I took a piece of 40,000 stick sheet styrene, and I cut out to fit over that middle area. That it's like a box that sets in between the upper and lower part of the head and everything. I cut out the pattern on there. I traced it out. I cut it out. I set that on there, and basically I just took a file and filed down till everything was flush with that top of that sheet. This press fit right down on top of it, and I filed down till everything was flush with that top edge, and that gave me what I was looking for. I did have to do a little bit modifications down on the back there, where it's kind of got a it kind of is molded to blend in with this curves and everything and stuff. I had to modify that a little bit, but other than that, that's the only modification I did to it. So I did the red LEDs and where the landing bays retract and everything. And I'm not much I don't know much about Galactica. I watched some of the shows, but I wasn't a big time diehard Galactica. Watch every episode every week and everything when it was out. So I just did the best I could, the way I thought I wanted it to look and everything. So as far as lighting, I used 0.25 millimeter fibers in that whole area, all the way around and all that. And I used LED tape, a strip of 3 LEDs for my shuttle bays. I didn't use any photo etch on this. I didn't do the museum windows or nothing like that. I just did the landing bays. They do have the decals on them and everything, and they do go straight through. I did, clear everything out, and they run all the way through, as you can see there. Um, for the for those their opening where the landing bays retract in, I just used 3 red. They're diffused LEDs and everything, and I probably could have. They're sticking out just the tips of them. I probably could have tried to raise them up a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of space inside of this model and everything. Once you get these arms in there and everything, things get pretty tight in there for running all kind of wires and everything like that. So I just I'm happy. It gives the effect, and I've seen different builds where some guys have 2 LEDs, some guys have 3, some have 4. Like I said, it's to your liking. It's your model. You build it the way you want it to look and everything, and it still conveys the idea. On the top, I just ran 2 pieces of fiber optic. It looked like there's something that should have been there the way it was molded, so I decided to go with 2 red fiber optics. It gives it a little bit more interest and everything, and all that. So we'll do the little turnaround in a little bit with these models and everything. Now on Pegasus, I didn't light everything along the tops of the engines, as it's the first thing I started on this model was by gluing all the bottom halves of the engines to the main hull part, and then drilled my holes, set my LEDs in there, light blocked all the inside of everything, set my LEDs in there, and closed them up. And it was at the time I wasn't sure how much or what parts of it I was going to light with fibers, so I pretty much, the only thing I did was in the center there was a little indentation there. There's like a little grouping, looks like some mechanical stuff, and there was one of them that looked like it might have been some type of porthole or something. So I managed to drill through those all the way through both pieces after they were glued together, and get a fiber. I straighten it out by just pretty much like you do a ribbon. If you want to curl a ribbon on a gift package, you kind of take your scissors and do something like it makes it curl. Well, I did with my fingernails. I actually got the fiber to straighten out nice and stiff for me, where I was able to slide it through, and on the inside drill a little bit bigger hole, so that way it was easy to get the fiber through there. And the side holes were pretty easy. I mean, those are just on the hull, but those ones on the top, like right there, that was a little tricky getting them to slide all the way through. Basically like 3 pieces of plastic, 3 different layers at different distances from each other. So on the top of the model, I did some 0.25 millimeter. Most of the lighting was, from what I read, was indirect lighting, meaning it was like I said, it was computer generated. So it was like lighting almost to just highlight different areas. So I just did them with some 0.25 millimeter fibers and everything. Some of the bigger ones that looked like more like floods, like those there, kind of facing front and back. Those are 0.50 millimeter fiber optics and everything. They give a little bit more of a floodlight effect. And on the back of the head, I got a couple LEDs. And what I did, I took some round tube styrene, and about 10 thousandths, I left it. I drilled a hole, glued it in there, and then I filed it down where it just barely sticks out. It's almost like a little raised area where those 2 fibers come through. So it's just not a plain flat, nothing detailed about it. Like I said, I did use the exterior photo etch set, so I do have the side of those arms. The brass pieces are glued on there and stuff and everything. So that gave it some more detail on there. The landing bays I seen where they're lit up like that, and all that kind of like different things. I was gonna try to do the Pegasus deal with try to do the Raytheon effect, but they're this plastic is kind of molded like a tan color, so it doesn't show white. And I didn't feel it looked right, so I just painted over it and felt, you know what, it's a small kit. If it was bigger, you might be able to pull it off, like the big Refit Enterprise doing stuff like that. But this one, it just didn't work out right, and I didn't care for that yellow plastic tone sticking through. So I just went and just painted over it and just put the decal on, and pretty much, you know, hey, I'm happy with the way it looks. It's a good enough effect for me. And down below in the trench, I noticed on the different pictures of the computer generated model and stuff, I noticed the lighting on the side trench doesn't face outward. It's like coming from above. So what I did, I just I got a strip of LED tape, basically runs the whole inside of there. And what I did, I just drilled holes from up underneath it to face down, and it kind of lights up a little bit of the sidewall, and shines down on the lower top part of the landing bay trench area and stuff. So I think that's a pretty cool effect. It kind of resembles what I saw in most of the pictures and everything. You know, like I said, I'm sorry about this video. It's not the greatest. You know, it does show some of the detail and stuff, but it just, you can't show a model completely in the dark where you just see the lighting because you can't see the model. I've been told that even some of my neighbors that check out my videos and stuff, and they say that's really nice looking, but we can't see the ship. So I decided I want to do it near early morning hours with just natural room lighting coming from the window, and hopefully it'll turn out okay. And the head itself on that trench, I kind of did the same thing except for that one light right there. That is a little fiber facing outward. But most of it is just the, like I said, I did it from above where it shines down. And in the dark, it will show up more of that trench. Let's see if I can't get it the other side away from the lit side of the room and all that. But it lights up the sidewall of the trench somewhat, and I'll try to make a shadow over it. It lights up the sidewall somewhat, but it also highlights and stuff. And I may come back and do another video in the future, maybe tonight or something, in the dark, just to give you the little bit more a better effect. But you can see it kind of comes down. It does highlight the sidewall. There we go. I'm kind of covering the camera lens with my hand a little bit to get it in the dark, block out some of the light, and then it shines down on the lower part of the trench, and it does give it a nice effect, like I said, in the dark. Now the top trench, like I said, I wanted to do that lit since I was lighting the whole model. I got the photo etch set, the Paragraphics, only for the exterior. I didn't do the interior of the shuttle bays. We'll get to that in a bit. But it gives you two different choices on those photo etch pieces for that middle trench. One of them, they give you one for, it's got like twice as many holes or smaller, and that's if you're just going to do like the Raytheon effect, where you're going to sand down the plastic real thin and then glue those on and have your light shine through the plastic in those. But like I said, this model is molded in a tan color. And when you do the lighting, you'll see in a little bit when I get to the shuttle bays or the landing bays, it shows up yellow. It's not white, and everything else is white, and it just didn't look right to me. So I went with the ones that they supply if you want to do fibers. I didn't do fibers. I did thin out the plastic behind them. I glued those on, and I still wasn't happy with the effect that I got because it was still throwing a yellow light due to the plastic. So I ended up, after those were glued on and set up for a day or so, make sure that they weren't going to come off, I did go through there and drill out every one of those. And then all I did is basically I used Mod Podge. It dries crystal clear. It's glossy. On these small windows, you can't tell it. There's a gloss to it, but it dries crystal clear. But it helps diffuse the light where you don't get too much of a hot spot. I do like the way that came out. It does kind of a little bit. Try to do the same thing. It does kind of in the dark. It does cast a little bit of light through the center of the trench, and on the center of the trench, I just went through with some of that not German silver. I went through with a graphite color, and highlighted the raised surfaces, make them a little darker and pop a little bit more. And I used the same color, the graphite, It's by Model Masters. It's like a graphite gray. No, it's actually a metallic. It's just called metallic gray. I don't have the number offhand, but it's a Model Masters. It's metallic gray. I just brush painted those with that color, and they're slightly darker, but it's not a whole lot darker than the aluminum and everything. So for those side trenches, I kind of did the same deal. There's some lights on the top that shine down toward the bottom along here, and kind of cast a light effect down toward the bottom of those. The bottom trenches, I didn't do that because the lights would be popping a little bit different. So there you can see my drill holes underneath the top of the trench, the side trench. I did do this 2 side ones on the bottom. The bottom of the head, I did do, there's like, I've seen different variations that lit up on that. There's like 2 lights there. There's 2 in the back. I've seen some where there's 6 lights drilled around there, like to light up the whole area. The front of it, I just did the 2 on the top, the 2 in the bottom, and all that. I'm pretty much happy. Up on top here, there's some like a little trench area, and it looked like they had floodlights to kind of highlight that, coming from the front, and then again coming from the back of it. So I'm kind of happy. Sorry about the unsteadiness. I'm trying to show this the best I can. They are fairly large models, and you know, if you get too far away, you can't see all the stuff. So I opted to do that. Now, I was talking about the yellow effect you'll see on my landing bays. Now, I didn't clear those out. I went with those kit supplied decals in them and all that. And I did thin the plastic quite a bit with just with my X-Acto. I just kept scraping it until it was real thin, and I felt it had enough light to shine through. And I did use the kit supplied decals in there. And see if I can't get them to show up a little bit. You can kind of you can make that one out pretty much. Same on the bottom. I drill a little hole in the bottom corner of each one to run my fibers. Those are actually colored fibers. I noticed these colored fibers that I picked up, the colored fiber optic strands, they don't, if you use a white LED, they get really washed out. So, you know, if you want to light something and have actually a true red and green marker light, either you can use regular fiber optics and use colored LEDs. But in this case, since I already had the red and green fibers in there, and I noticed that when I used a white LED to light them, they were getting really washed out. The red almost looked white, and the green, it was very pale. You could barely make it out that it was green. So I ended up using the green and red LEDs for lighting the colored fibers. So they're a little bit more vibrant than just using the colored fibers. They're probably even a little bit more vibrant since I got colored LEDs on them. But basically that's my that's what I did with the trenches. I mean the landing bays, top and bottom. And again, I was not sure, you know, about the way they got these landing bay lights, marker lights done up, where, you know, the one is opposite of the bottom one, and so on and so forth. And, you know, everything seems to be reversed as far as I'm used to red and green being port and starboard, you know. But anyway, that's that. And there's not really much lit up on the bottom of the Pegasus. Same with the Galactica. I didn't see any lighting on the most of the pictures I looked at. So I just went that route. As far as weathering, I did a little bit of black chalk weathering on the end of the nozzle tips on there, and the same on the Pegasus. Now for my engines, there's the backs of the landing bay. As far as my engines go, I don't like dark blue, irregular blue flickering LEDs. They make it too toy-like. Most of the pictures and most of the stuff I read on these ships, they're more toward the white side with just a hint of blue. So what I do is I use white flickering LEDs, and then I use Model Master Tamiya. You can use either one. In my case, I had Model Master on hand. My Tamiya was all used up. I like Tamiya a little bit better. It goes on smoother. Model Master seems to be kind of spotty. It kind of, you spread it on a thin layer, and it gathered itself up into little clumps, like, it doesn't want to adhere to the plastic. But in this case, I got the Model Masters to work pretty decent. Just a real thin one brush over to give them a little bit of a blue tint on the clear parts, and that's how I get my little bit of blue, but mostly white. I did the same thing with my Star Destroyer. Those were blue pieces that came with the kit that gave them that effect. But I don't have it switched, hooked up with a switch to turn the two center ones off on the Galactica. Like I said, I'm doing basics, and you build so many models with lights and everything, and I'm just getting to the point where, light it up, make sure it looks pretty cool. If it's something maybe that's a standalone, but this was two models on one base, and I just wasn't in the mood to hook up a couple extra switches to shut those two center engines off on the Galactica. But I figured, you know what, it's all four of them lit. That's probably the way I'd end up displaying it anyway. It's not like the Star Destroyer where I did separate switches for the four small engines and big ones. But I like the way that my engines come out more on the white side with just a little hint of blue. And especially when you do a video, they're actually probably showing up a little bit whiter than blue. They're like a baby blue in person, but they're not all washed out where the blue LEDs, they give you that real dark, almost like a purple color. It kind of looks fake to me. And when I look at pictures, most of the models or most of the ships, whether they're a studio model or computer generated, but most of them do have more of a white color effect to them rather than blue, with just a hint of blue where when they're coming out and everything. And that's kind of what I shoot for. Like I says, I'm not knocking anybody's models. It's to everybody's liking, but just my taste in them, I prefer the lighter blue where they look more white than anything. And the only thing I do on these clear parts is I do spray when I coat my model with the dull coat. I spray over the entire thing, lenses and all. So they kind of diffuse them a little bit also. But again, there's the landing bay on the Galactica. You can kind of see one of those right there. It passes all the way through and everything. But all in all, I'm happy with the way the models turned out and all that. And down underneath, you can see some more of the underside lighting. Like I said, I didn't notice a whole lot of stuff on there. There was more, like I said, there was more lighting on the engines, that highlight lighting stuff than what I've got on there. But the effect is there. I'm happy with it. I wish I would have decided before I glued up the engines and sealed them all up and everything to do more lighting, like in that area there, those little center kind of like a dome thing there. There's a couple lights in there. I could have put some little fibers in there just to kind of highlight them a little bit, but I figured, the ones on the sides and that one up in center, the engines and stuff, being a little brighter, it does give it a nice effect and all that. So overall, I'm happy with the way the model turned out. And like I says, I may come back later on. This is this model, excuse the shakiness, this model is a little hard to maneuver. It is on a pretty big base. I think I made the base a little bit about pretty close to the same length as the Pegasus, which is about 17 inches. I think I went 18 inches on my base, and it's basically about 11 and a half, 11 3/4 wide. It's the width. I just picked up a piece of MDF non-finished shelving board at Menards for $2, and I just whatever width it is, I think it's 11 3/4 and 11 and a half. It's kind of basically just like a 1x12 would be if you picked up a piece of pine board and stuff. And it's a lot cheaper than buying a pine board for $2. It's they call it a 1x4x12 shelving board and stuff. And it's, you know, we all look to save money in this hobby and stuff, and these models cost a little bit more. So any place you can kind of cut corners on costs and stuff, and still have a pretty decent model. You know, I didn't do nothing special to finish the edges. They're still rough. I probably could have went in with a filler and smoothed them out, but once it's painted and everything, I don't know, during space it's kind of gives a little bit of a meteor effect and everything. But that's my Galactica and Pegasus. I'm sorry about the quality of the video if it's not the greatest, shaky, moving around quite a bit and everything, but I wanted to do them both on a base, so it's a little bit harder to maneuver and film. I probably will come back later this evening when it starts getting dark, and probably do another video just with lighting, and maybe I won't do no rambling. I might just do some music downloaded from YouTube and stuff, and just do a little video, spin it around a few times for the lighting and stuff. But now that it's getting a little bit lighter in my living room, you can kind of see the colors more, the aluminum and all that on that one, and my little bit better on there with the different color panels and stuff and the shading and stuff. So you can probably even pick out there now.